So what is a bullshit PhD versus a legitimate PhD? I mean, what have we learned about, are there faculties that just we should not trust or value in an intellectual sense, and other faculties that are valuable? What have you determined?
Well, I think it's hard for me to say outside of what I've looked at, but I know that the identity studies fields are just not a thing. Like, I think that it's more of I mean, if you respect that ideology and that moral worldview, and I don't, and I don't actually think you should on a moral standpoint. So we can have long conversations about that. But if you do respect that, then I think that we should regard it as a kind of a kind of seminary or something like that. Because you know, all the biblical studies and theology is happening in a divinity school, which is on the side of the university. And it's not like the divinity school can have like a kind of divinity DEI body that's saying, hey, that's not biblical. We have to make that biblical. And I think that's if you're looking at this school of identity studies, it's the power school. It's a moral paradigm, and it needs to be considered in that way. And it should definitely, most definitely, imagine the divinity school had a body of, you know, maybe even 100 employees that were making sure that everything that was going on within the university was biblical. That's the equivalent of what's happening with this power school, this kind of these identity studies thing. And people are just like, oh yeah, that's fine, it's equity. And it's like, you fucking idiots. But so what else is there? You were asking about what constitutes a good PhD. I think things like physics and the harder sciences it's really hard to. If you've ever seen an astronomy paper, you're not getting away with much with something like that. It's like just blocks of math and proofs and all sorts of things. And so there's all sorts of. It's hard for me to talk about the other kind of disciplines, but I think that they're all under the pressure of this elite overproduction. So it's at a guess, I think that if you've got a scholar, your random scholar now and a random scholar from, say, 1950, there would be a different level of rigor and intelligence, you know, more or less across the board, other than the kind of breakthroughs we've had. So they've kind of got an advantage there. But I think that the quality of everything is affected by this elite overproduction thing that's going on in the universities.
Right. So does it annoy you as much as it annoys me when people call themselves doctor because they have a PhD in, like, I don't know, gender studies, or I don't know, what are the other fat studies? Is there the race studies?
Yeah, post-colonial. There's some there you. There is
okay, you're not really a doctor. Like, I know what you mean.
Well, isn't that true of anyone that's kind of so you're in a room with people of high status, and if you start signaling in any way, you know that you're not as cool as them, and so the coolest guy in the room is always the quiet guy, and you know,
totally.
someone's
and then you should feel stupid because you discover after the fact that he actually is a doctor of neuroscience or something, and you've been going on about your PhD or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone is signaling around the guy who's doing the thing, and so yeah, maybe it's annoying that they do that, but it's I think that most people can see through. Well, maybe they can't. Maybe the reason
I don't know if they can. I don't know. I think that, like, to me, if somebody is going around calling themselves doctor, I'm like, okay, I got it. You're trying to impress me. You know nothing about me. You know nothing about anybody else in the room, and you're walking around behaving as though everybody should kind of bow down to you and your knowledge and your status and your expertise. And it's just a bad personality trait. I don't want to be around, and I don't trust people like that. But I mean, yeah, I see that, but I think that a lot of people And actually, I think it's a lot of people who haven't been to university and haven't gone through the process of, like, I have a master's degree in gender, sexuality, and women's studies, so I know that it's not really that impressive. But you know, like,
I just realized I've been shitting on your degree the whole time in this. I do remember we spoke about this though. Yeah, funny. I think you've had your come to Jesus moment, so we don't have.
I mean, what I think is useful about my degree is that I know what I'm talking about when I'm criticizing these things.
Well,
right?
I actually there is something to that. There really is something to that. You went in there. Think about that exercise. You went in there and you learned something from the first person perspective of believing it, and then you didn't believe it. It's like. Yeah, it's like the kind of adult version of Santa Claus or something like that. It's a really important cognitive lesson to be inside an ideology and then eject yourself from it. You've got some. I think maybe I don't know if you believe it, but maybe it was worth all the struggle.
I think it was totally worth it. I mean, that I'm able to see it for what it is, and that I'm able to criticize it from the perspective of having been it, right? Like, and I understand, and I can do that in a variety of ways because I also came from the left, and I was a socialist for so many years, and you know, I was the one who was like more left than everybody else, and everybody else wasn't left enough, and everybody else wasn't feminist enough, and yada yada yada. So I think I can see exactly what these people are doing, and when I'm criticizing it, I'm not criticizing it as an outsider, but I'm criticizing it as like an ex-insider. So it does offer me some kind of credibility, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's what the film. The underlying film of the Reformers is the underlying project of the film Reformers is going in and proving that you can publish with the best of them. That allows you to critique something, and I don't care what people say about you know the process or the immorality of the kind of being undercover throughout that. I think that it's like, read the scoreboard. I think that the scoreboard says that 7 papers were published, and we don't even have to talk about the other ones that were very likely going to be published for when the group got busted. But 7 papers in leading journals, well, maybe 1 or 2 of those was a pretty shitty journal, but leading journals, it's very difficult. Scholars, if you're at the height of your field, you're still popping champagne if you publish a paper. And so this is not for people on the outside. This is not getting a kind of op-ed in or something like that. This is a very very difficult process for academicians. It's the bread and butter of what academics do. This is the research papers.